Welcome to the Bible Quiz and Trivia channel. Today, we're diving into the historical depths of 1 Chronicles, exploring its rich accounts of kings, priests, and prophets. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video to support our content. After the quiz, share your score in the comments. We love seeing how well you do. Are you ready? Let's get started. Question 1. What is the primary focus of the first 9 chapters of 1 Chronicles? A. The reign of King Solomon. B. The military campaigns of King David. C. The genealogies of the tribes of Israel. D. The building of the temple in Jerusalem. Answer: C. The genealogies of the tribes of Israel. The first 9 chapters of 1 Chronicles primarily focus on the genealogies of the Israelite tribes, starting from Adam and continuing through the lineage of King David. This extensive genealogical record emphasizes the continuity and divine covenant with the people of Israel. Question 2. Who is credited with preparing plans for the temple that Solomon would build? A. Solomon. B. Nathan the prophet. C. King Saul. D. David. Answer: D. David. David is credited with preparing the plans for the temple that his son Solomon would later build. Although David gathered the materials and made the preparations, God instructed that Solomon, his son, would be the one to build the temple. Question 3. Which son of David is given a detailed genealogy in 1 Chronicles? A. Solomon. B. Absalom. C. Adonijah. D. Ammon. Answer: A. Solomon. Solomon's genealogy is detailed in 1 Chronicles, particularly emphasizing his role in the lineage of David and his subsequent significance in the history of Israel as the builder of the temple. Question 4. What significant role did the Levites have in the temple according to 1 Chronicles? A. Builders of the temple. B. Military defenders of the temple. C. Custodians and musicians in the temple. D. Financial overseers of the temple treasury. Answer: C. Custodians and musicians in the temple. The Levites had significant roles as custodians and musicians in the temple. They were responsible for the care and operation of the sanctuary, playing music, and conducting ceremonies as outlined in 1 Chronicles. Question 5. How does 1 Chronicles differ in its portrayal of David compared to the books of Samuel? A. More emphasis on his failures. B. More focus on his spiritual life. C. Less detail on his military exploits. D. More critical of his reign. Answer: B. More focus on his spiritual life. 1 Chronicles portrays David with a stronger focus on his spiritual life and his preparations for the temple, presenting him in a more favorable light compared to the more complex and sometimes critical portrayal in the books of Samuel. Question 6. What were the duties of the gatekeepers of the temple as described in 1 Chronicles? A. Conducting sacrifices. B. Guarding the temple gates. C. Singing psalms during services. D. Writing religious texts. Answer: B. Guarding the temple gates. The gatekeepers in 1 Chronicles were responsible for guarding the gates of the temple. They ensured that the sanctuary was secure and that only those who were clean and permitted could enter. Question 7. Who succeeded Saul as king of Israel according to 1 Chronicles? A. Jonathan. B. Ishbosheth. C. David. D. Solomon. Answer: C. David. According to 1 Chronicles, David succeeded Saul as the king of Israel. The transition underscores David's divine anointment and the fulfillment of God's plan for his reign. Question 8. Which tribes' genealogies are prominently featured in the first chapters of 1 Chronicles? A. Judah and Benjamin. B. Ephraim and Manasseh. C. Levi and Simeon. D. Naphtali and Gad. Answer: A. Judah and Benjamin. The tribes of Judah and Benjamin are prominently featured in the genealogies in the first chapters of 1 Chronicles, emphasizing their central role in the lineage of David and the southern kingdom. Question 9. How was the Ark of the Covenant's journey to Jerusalem described differently in 1 Chronicles compared to 2 Samuel? A. With less detail in 1 Chronicles. B. With more emphasis on divine anger in 1 Chronicles. C. With more ceremonial detail than 1 Chronicles. D. With a different route described in 1 Chronicles. Answer: C. With more ceremonial detail in 1 Chronicles. 1 Chronicles describes the Ark of the Covenant's journey to Jerusalem with more ceremonial detail, focusing on the religious significance and the celebrations accompanying the Ark, which contrasts with the more straightforward account in 2 Samuel. Question 10. Who are some of the key military leaders listed in David's army? A. Job and Abner. B. Benaiah and Asahel. C. Uriah and Amasa. D. Nathan and Gad. Answer: B. Benaiah and Asahel. Benaiah and Asahel are among the key military leaders listed in David's army in 1 Chronicles. These figures are noted for their bravery and significant roles in various military campaigns during David's reign. Question 11. What specific prayer of David is recorded in 1 Chronicles? A. Prayer for forgiveness. B. Prayer for victory over his enemies. C. Prayer of dedication for the temple. D. Prayer for personal wealth and prosperity. Answer: C. Prayer of dedication for the temple. In 1 Chronicles, David's prayer of dedication for the temple outlines his gratitude to God for allowing him to gather the materials for the temple that his son Solomon would build, expressing a profound acknowledgement of God's sovereignty and blessings over Israel. Question 12. What was the purpose of the extensive genealogies listed at the beginning of 1 Chronicles? A. To record the family histories for legal purposes. B. To trace the priestly and royal lines important to Israel's history. C. To provide a historical account of each tribe's military exploits. D. To introduce new laws and regulations. Answer: B. To trace the priestly and royal lines important to Israel's history. The extensive genealogies in 1 Chronicles serve to emphasize the continuity of God's covenant through the priestly and royal lines, particularly highlighting the lineage leading to David and the Levitical priests, establishing a context for the roles they play in Israel's spiritual life. Question 13. How does 1 Chronicles detail the organization of the priests and Levites? A. By their tribal affiliations. B. By their roles in battles. C. By their functions and duties in temple service. D. By their political alliances. Answer: C. By their functions and duties in temple service. 1 Chronicles meticulously organizes the priests and Levites according to their specific functions and duties in the temple, including roles in sacrifices, music, gatekeeping, and other sacred duties, underscoring the structured nature of temple worship. Question 14. What is the role of music and musicians in the worship services described in 1 Chronicles? A. Decorative purpose only. B. To lead the congregation in prayer. C. Central to the liturgical service, leading worship and praises. D. To communicate messages between tribes. Answer: C. Central to the liturgical service, leading worship and praises. Music and musicians play a central role in the worship services described in 1 Chronicles. They are integral to the liturgical celebrations, using music to glorify God, enhance the spiritual atmosphere, and lead the assembly in worship and praise. Question 15. Who is given a special blessing by David in front of all the assembly of Israel? A. Solomon. B. Nathan the prophet. C. Job, the commander. D. The high priest Zadok. Answer: A. Solomon. David publicly blesses Solomon in front of all the assembly of Israel, signaling his choice and God's choice of Solomon as the next king. This act is a formal endorsement of Solomon's divine right to the throne and his future role as the builder of the temple, reinforcing his legitimacy and the continuity of God's covenant. Question 16. What was the significance of the covenant David made with the leaders of Israel in Jerusalem? A. It was purely political to consolidate power. B. It ensured peace among the tribes. C. It confirmed divine support for his dynasty and future temple plans. D. It was a trade agreement between neighboring nations. Answer: C. It confirmed divine support for his dynasty and future temple plans. David's covenant with the leaders of Israel in Jerusalem was significant because it underscored divine approval for his kingship and the succession plans involving Solomon, particularly relating to the construction of the temple, thereby ensuring that his lineage and the worship practices would continue in alignment with God's commands. Question 17. Which angel appears to David, leading him to build an altar? A. Gabriel. B. Michael. C. The angel of the Lord. D. Uriel. Answer: C. The angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord appeared to David after he sinned by taking a census, instructing him to build an altar on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite as a means of averting a plague from Israel. 1 Chronicles 21:18. Question 18. What is the significance of the chronicler's emphasis on temple worship? A. To illustrate the administrative skills of David and Solomon. B. To promote liturgical reforms. C. To emphasize the central role of religious worship in national identity. D. To highlight the architectural achievements of the period. Answer: C. To emphasize the central role of religious worship in national identity. The chronicler's emphasis on temple worship highlights its importance as a unifying element of national identity and spiritual life in Israel. It underscores the idea that proper worship and adherence to God's commands were foundational to the community's prosperity and divine favor. Question 19. How does 1 Chronicles describe the distribution of spiritual responsibilities among David's sons? A. Unequally and based on their personal desires. B. Equally among all his sons. C. According to their abilities and divine appointment. D. Solely to Solomon. Answer: C. According to their abilities and divine appointment. 1 Chronicles details that David distributed spiritual responsibilities among his sons based on their abilities and what was seen as their divine appointment, ensuring that each played a role in maintaining the religious and spiritual practices in Israel. Question 20. What role did the prophets Gad and Nathan play according to 1 Chronicles? A. They were primarily military advisors. B. They served as David's personal scribes. C. They were counselors and prophets to David. D. They led the construction of the temple. Answer: C. They were counselors and prophets to David. Gad and Nathan played significant roles as counselors and prophets, providing David with divine guidance, rebuking him when necessary, and helping to direct the spiritual course of his reign, as recorded in 1 Chronicles. Question 21. Which chapter of 1 Chronicles recounts the transfer of the royal authority to Solomon? A. Chapter 10. B. Chapter 22. C. Chapter 23. D. Chapter 29. Answer: D. Chapter 29. Chapter 29 of 1 Chronicles describes the transfer of royal authority to Solomon, detailing David's public prayer, his collection of contributions for the temple, and the formal recognition of Solomon as king, which emphasizes the seamless transition of power and the continuity of divine favor. Question 22. What was the role of the divisions of priests as established by David? A. To maintain the king's treasury. B. To oversee military expeditions. C. To handle judicial matters in the kingdom. D. To organize and perform temple services. Answer D. To organize and perform temple services. David organized the priests into divisions according to 1 Chronicles, which were structured to perform specific duties in the temple. This organization ensured that all aspects of worship were conducted properly and without interruption, according to the law. Question 23. How was Solomon's anointing as king described differently in 1 Chronicles than in other books? A. It emphasizes his wealth and power. B. It is not mentioned in 1 Chronicles. C. It highlights the public and ceremonial aspects. D. It focuses on his wisdom. Answer C. It highlights the public and ceremonial aspects. In 1 Chronicles, Solomon's anointing as king is particularly emphasized for its ceremonial and public aspects, contrasting with other accounts by showing a broader community involvement in the formal passing of authority from David, which symbolizes God's underrun covenant with David's lineage. Question 24. What are the achievements of David's reign that are highlighted in 1 Chronicles? A. His diplomatic relationships. B. His military conquests. C. His architectural projects. D. His preparations for the temple construction. Answer D. His preparations for the temple construction. 1 Chronicles highlights David's achievements mainly around his extensive preparations for the construction of the temple, including gathering materials, organizing labor, and planning the temple services, which underscore his commitment to establishing a permanent place for worship. Question 25. What specific instructions did David give Solomon regarding the temple in 1 Chronicles? A. To use only gold for construction. B. To complete it within 3 years. C. The detailed plans and spiritual significance. D. To exclude non-Israelites from the construction. Answer C. The detailed plans and spiritual significance. David gave Solomon specific instructions regarding the detailed plans for the temple and its spiritual significance, emphasizing the importance of adhering to these plans as a divine mandate and ensuring that the temple would be a fitting place for the presence of God. Question 26. How does 1 Chronicles portray the preparations for temple construction? A. As a rushed and disorganized effort. B. As a secondary concern to political matters. C. As a detailed and divinely guided process. D. As largely delegated to foreign powers. Answer C. As a detailed and divinely guided process. 1 Chronicles portrays the preparations for the temple construction as a detailed and divinely guided process. David's meticulous planning and gathering of resources are emphasized, showing his dedication and the importance of the temple in religious worship. Question 27. What blessings and curses does David pronounce in his final prayers? A. Blessings on his enemies and curses on his allies. B. Blessings for obedience and curses for disobedience to God. C. Curses on surrounding nations. D. Only blessings on Israel with no curses mentioned. Answer B. Blessings for obedience and curses for disobedience to God. In his final prayers, David pronounces blessings for obedience and curses for disobedience to God, reflecting the Deuteronomic code that rewards following God's commands with prosperity and punishes disobedience with adversity. Question 28. How are the military exploits of David's mighty men described in 1 Chronicles? A. In brief mentions without detail. B. As legendary and detailed narratives. C. They are not included in 1 Chronicles. D. Focus only on their failures. Answer B. As legendary and detailed narratives. The military exploits of David's mighty men are described in 1 Chronicles with legendary and detailed narratives. These accounts highlight their bravery and strategic importance in establishing and maintaining David's kingdom. Question 29. What specific contributions to the temple are listed as being provided by David? A. Only financial contributions. B. Materials such as gold, silver, and bronze. C. Artworks and decorations only. D. Spiritual guidance without material contributions. Answer B. Materials such as gold, silver, and bronze. David's contributions to the temple included extensive materials such as gold, silver, bronze, and wood, listed in detail in 1 Chronicles. These contributions underscore his commitment to ensuring that the temple was splendidly furnished. Question 30. How does 1 Chronicles address the unity of Israel under David's reign? A. By showing the division among tribes. B. Through highlighting collective participation in religious festivals. C. It emphasizes ongoing conflicts. D. It suggests that David's reign was marked by disunity. Answer B. Through highlighting collective participation in religious festivals. 1 Chronicles addresses the unity of Israel under David's reign by highlighting the collective participation of all tribes in religious festivals, especially in events like the transfer of the Ark and the preparations for the temple. This shared religious practice under David's leadership is portrayed as a unifying force for the nation.